That may have been raising Kenan's best hour. That may have been one of the best hours in the whole damn Power universe. And we still have one more hour to go this season. As we approach the end of Raising Kenan Season 4, 10 different storylines are in motion, and that's how Power has continuously operated. Various characters and story arcs are being juggled, and at a certain point, many of them start to merge, which we are starting to see here. This was the first hour we saw Kenan and Unique interact, the number one Rack haters, and Stefano turn on Rack, and Lulu make a decision about his future. These things have been simmering all season, and things have been said out loud, and there's no turning back from this point forward, putting us in such an exciting and terrifying place as we head into the finale. I would be shocked if we leave this season with all our main characters intact, which is not something I truly believed heading into past finales. Maybe there was the threat of a death or two, but considering we know Kenan and Jukebox make it into adulthood and the crux of the entire series is the relationship between Rack and Kanan, it did lessen some of the fear around that big death. But I'm worried now. And I'm most worried about Marvin. Marvin has made huge strides throughout the series to become a better version of himself. He's still a killer with anger issues, but in his line of work, he's been a reliable soldier and someone Rack can depend on and trust. However, things have not gone his way this season, starting with lying to Rack about his side dealings with Stefano. If you want to say he withheld the information instead of outright lying to her, then so be it. Still, when Rack found out about his little side hustle, it put the spark of doubt into her head, and now Stefano has planted a whole damn garden, since he realized Marvin wasn't the fighter he wanted to back. The second Marvin brought early into the sports betting game, and Stefano gave him that warning, you knew it would come back to bite in some way. No, Marvin didn't pull the trigger in this instance, but Early was his guy, thus, everything he touched fell on Marvin. Taunting Early was obviously the wrong move for Marvin, but it was pretty ballsy of him to go right to Stefano and snitch. He probably figured it was his only play since Marvin has no issues cleaning up his messes with bullets. But Stefano's decision to turn on Marvin and lie to Rack was certainly a choice, especially considering how skeptical and downright indignant he's been about her all season. Once he realized he could never back Marvin, he decided to try to put a wedge between brother and sister because he still wanted a piece of the action. And now we wait to see if it works. Joey Badass continues to kill it as Unique. His scene with Rack was layered, tense, and emotional, but also frustrating because we, the audience, know he's not seeing the full picture. His line, "I ain't dying for nobody ever again," hit hard, especially considering he's talking about his own son. Panessa is clearly marked for tragedy, and when that happens, Unique's going to spiral even further. Meanwhile, Marvin is in serious danger. Him handing a gun to Jukebox and expecting it back? Come on. That's not coming back, and Marvin might not either. Early's involvement is only adding more fire to what's already a burning mess. Now, about Jukebox. This was her villain origin story, officially. She's not just doing dirt anymore. She's enjoying it. Her motives are different from Kenan's. He sees the game as a path to freedom, legacy, maybe power. Juke? She's doing it for the thrill. That darkness explains so much about who she becomes in OG Power, the mastermind behind kidnapping Tariq, the one who went darker than even Jukebox talk about Unique's threat at a local diner, while Rack and Marvin meet up with Snaps and Pop. Rack informs the duo that they might be on Unique's radar because of their business connection with Kenan. Elsewhere, we see Unique pull up outside the Golden Pavilion, which is now working for him. Worried about their next step, Rack and Marvin discuss the state of their current affairs with Stefano. The New York Mafia Godfather suspects that Unique may have a powerful backer behind him, someone who knows about Rack's connection with Stefano. As such, for the time being, Unique is trying to keep Rack alive because he needs her business connections to fall under his heel before he can take her down. Stefano also thinks that Unique is waging this battle for someone who wants to start a proxy war against the New York Mafia. Kenan picks up his daily cash collection and heads over to his hiding spot to stow it away. However, the lock is broken, and the money is gone. In the meantime, Unique moves Panessa to a new home away from the South Jamaica neighborhood. He wants her to stay at the new place because he is about to turn the whole of South Jamaica into a... According to the show's official synopsis, Power Book 3, Raising Kenan goes back to 1991 when Supras are the whip of choice and a fly shearling coat is a symbol of status in the hood. Kenan navigates this world of glamour and grit as he comes into his own and gets out of the shadow of his mother, Rack, who runs the streets of Southside Jamaica, Queens, with her brothers, Marvin and Lulu. Despite Kenan being under their watchful eyes, danger lurks just around the corner. There's Unique, a rival dealer who has his eye on the family's turf, and Detective Malcolm Howard, a pestering cop who gets a kick out of harassing community members and getting under Rack's skin. In today's episode, Season 4, Episode 4, The Way We Were, Unique forms an unlikely alliance in his vendetta against Rack while she inches closer to a new drug enterprise. Kenan takes advice from Snaps and Pop, and Jukebox's new friendship leads to a violent encounter. Imani and Lulu meet with Lowell, and he doesn't care how much Lulu hypes himself up. He wants the two of them to work together with Rilla, and that's that. Marvin and Early have a really good-looking pasta meal with Stefano. Marvin wants Early to be Stefano's new sports betting guy since he killed the last one. Stefano's okay with it, but he does warn Marvin that any mistake by Early will reflect on him, and this is all obviously going to go terribly wrong eventually. Kenan meets with Quan and tells him to bypass Rack and just come to him if he needs anything. Quan, like almost everyone on this show, is a Rack hater at heart, so he seems okay with that. Unique and Damon hit Uncle Terry's warehouse with the sole purpose of killing people, and Damon should have stayed himself back in Jersey because he's killed and Unique barely makes it out alive. Imani and Lulu meet with Lowell, and he doesn't care how much Lulu hypes himself up. He wants the two of them to work together with Rilla, and that's that. Marvin and Early have a really good-looking pasta meal with Stefano. Marvin wants Early to be Stefano's new sports betting guy since he killed the last one. Stefano's okay with it, but he does warn Marvin that any mistake by Early will reflect on him, and this is all obviously going to go terribly wrong eventually. Kenan meets with Quan and tells him to bypass Rack and just come to him if he needs anything. Quan, like almost everyone on this show, is a Rack hater at heart, so he seems okay with that. She, and everybody but Early and a veterinarian, thought Unique was long gone, no longer a threat on the south side. She and everyone thought wrong. I was starting to worry about how long they would keep Unique hidden because there's only so long you can hide in plain sight. With each move Unique made, he was putting himself out there more and more, and at some point, somebody was going to see him and realize, damn, you look a lot like Unique. Unique would then open his mouth and make a quip about coming back from the dead, and the jig would be up. Since Unique was well enough to take care of himself again, the plan has always been to bring down Rack and take back what he felt was stolen from him, but when you're considered dead for an undetermined amount of time, it means you return to nothing. Unique's initial pitch to Russo didn't get him anything but a headache, but when he returned to him during Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 4 Episode 6, he had much more to offer. Unique has always been highly ambitious and intelligent. You could never ascend to the heights he did without those two traits, but since his return, he's been consumed by revenge and unable to see much beyond it. Not only was there no product for Unique, but he didn't have any people either. One thing we've learned throughout all of the power shows is that you've got to have a plan, and you've got to have a team. Without those two things, you will be DOA. Unique was smart enough to recognize that the only hand he really had to play was to recruit others who hated Rack or, at the very least, would agree to bring her down. That's why he went to Teresa Bozelli in the first place. He played on her grief, and then he got in front of Russo so he could try to play multiple angles. Russo wanted to avenge Sal, but maybe even more than that, Stefano was the kind of boss he would love to be. Unique's initial pitch to Russo didn't get him anything but a headache, but when he returned to him during Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 4 Episode 6, he had much more to offer. Unique has always been highly ambitious and intelligent. You could never ascend to the heights he did without those two traits, but since his return, he's been consumed by revenge and unable to see much beyond it. Oh? New line. This season is about everyone figuring out what comes next for them, and while the optimism is great, it's starting to feel like the calm before the storm. New line. There were one too many bright spots during Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 4 Episode 2, and as we know, in the Power universe, those moments don't tend to last. New line. New line. After the flashbacks that were Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 4 Episode 1, this hour was all about diving into the aftermath of Ronnie and Howard's deaths, and for Rak, her main concern was making sure she and her family were no longer on the Fed's radar. New line. New line. Part of the reason Rak killed Howard was because he was never someone she was going to be able to fully trust. He may have wanted to protect her and Kenan, and she may have even wanted to believe that, but at the end of the day, Howard wasn't someone she could depend on. New line. New line. He had Marvin's name in his mouth a little too much, and even though he had helped her in some ways as law enforcement, his threat was more significant than what he could do for her. New line. New line. But she did pull that trigger, not even thinking about what it could mean for Kenan. She once again made a decision that would affect Kenan and had no care or thought about it. New line. New line. Kenan asking his mother whether or not she even knew the difference between right and wrong felt like his way of telling her that she had lost her damn mind and someone he no longer recognized. New line. New line. Obviously, he's been looking at his mother strangely for a long while, but her actions continue to push him further and further away. And maybe worse, while Unique and Kenan are working through their stuff in the flashback, we also glimpse Marvin and Kenan's life. The former takes on a mission from Stefano Mocchetti, the New York Godfather, to intimidate Tommaso, his big-shot son-in-law. Tommaso has been running around town cheating on his wife, who is also Stefano's daughter. Marvin is told to rough him up in indirect terms, which he does in an efficient fashion. The New York Godfather is pleased by his work and promises that this will only help him in the future, meaning Stefano is likely willing to answer one of his favors. Meanwhile, Kenan has a strange problem presented to him out of nowhere. His high school research project is still due, and he has to complete it by finding out more about one of his grandparents. After all the drug trading and illegal stuff Kenan has been doing recently, it is hard to remember he is a teenager in high school still. However, the research project storyline helps bring a sense of normalcy to his character for a brief period. We see him go back to his grandma's house, asking to learn more about Grandpa Elijah. Somehow, Kenan can sense a bit of kinship with his late grandfather, who his grandmother describes as someone just like him. The boy goes around interrogating every family member about Elijah's personality and what he was like as a person. Everyone shares something different, Marvin and Lulu included. He refrains from asking his mother because of the distance in their relationship. She tells him that no matter how much he hates her, she will always unconditionally love him. Later, Kenan makes the shocking discovery that his grandmother has cancer and is dying. He is the only one to know, and she urges him not to share the information with her children, fearing that they will make the news about themselves. Meanwhile, Unique sends out Tyler to reckon the situation outside and where everyone stands in the puzzle. The latter returns to inform Unique that Ronnie is working with Kenan, and Rak is back dealing again despite promising to be out. Unique hypothesizes that Kenan and Rak must be in cahoots and likely sent Ronnie after him. Tyler points out that he is making big assumptions, but the man already has his target set. The final parts of the episode take us back to the present day, where Unique takes out his gun and points it toward Ronnie and Howard's dead bodies. He is seemingly now on a collision course with as Kenan continues his journey into the person we know him from. Power. After the shocking ending of Season 3, Episode 1 of the 4th season jumps straight into the thick of the action, providing more details and answers to our burning questions. It feels familiar to go through the same environments that have become so resonant with the series, including Café Vause. It has been a regular destination since Season 3's events, providing a deeper insight into Lulu's character and the music scene that is so pivotal to the series. However, it also plays a vital role in fleshing out the world and the era. Power Book 3, Raising Kenan, introduces a number of fictional locales throughout its various seasons. These places either add to the world-building aspect of the series or have an important relation to specific elements of the plot and characters. Café Vause fits more into the second category. It is a fictional club crafted by Sasha Penn, which brings more clarity and depth to Lulu's ongoing storyline of trying to break away from Rak's world. We have known for quite a while that Lulu is tired of living a life dictated by his sister, who is wrapped up in the dangers of the underworld. While he started the series as a loyal foot soldier who does not question anything, he has undergone a radical shift in his thinking and wants to have nothing to do with his family. To that end, Café Vause presents an opportunity to have a life outside Rak's circle. The club was first introduced in Season 3 as a place that needed revitalization. Lulu sees this as a golden opportunity to have something of his own. His previous plans of succeeding with his record company were also motivated by a desire to break the bonds shackling him to his sister. While it didn't work out exactly as planned, Cafe Vals presented another shot at the same dream. However, in Season 3, we see a progressive decline in Lulu's mental state as he struggles with the guilt of his past life and the inability to move forward. He quickly spirals out of control and becomes a liability to the Thomas family and to Rack's needs. In his desperate state, Cafe Vals is one of the few things that helps him hunger. All it took was a few small pieces of information about Rack and Kanan to set him on a full-blown revenge tour. And isn't it interesting how easy it is to hear something and then jump to every conclusion in the book to fit the narrative you need to sustain your bloodthirsty anger? Unique was not in his right mind, but he was also hell-bent on getting back at Ronnie and whoever else he felt was responsible for what happened to him. Unfortunately, Rack and Kenan fell into that trap once he started hearing about how they were moving. In a perfect world, Unique would have gone straight to Rack, and they would have formulated a plan together, but who could Unique trust? His own brother wanted him dead, so why would he think that his surprise return would be something anyone would welcome when they got something for themselves now that he was out of the picture? Early was right to tell Unique to wait in the shadows because while it may have seemed like he was down and out, he ultimately did have the upper hand. He could move in silence, find the weaknesses, and pounce when the opportunity arose. In a perfect world, Unique would have gone straight to Rack, and they would have formulated a plan together, but who could Unique trust? His own brother wanted him dead, so why would he think that his surprise return would be something anyone would welcome when they got something for themselves now that he was out of the picture? Early was right to tell Unique to wait in the shadows because while it may have seemed like he was down and out, he ultimately did have the upper hand. He could move in silence, find the weaknesses, and pounce when the opportunity arose. But even knowing all those things doesn't excuse her actions because Rack has done some messed up stuff. Rack does what she needs to do to survive and protect the people she loves at all costs, but at the same time, she takes away a lot of their agency. She's created dynamics in which the people she loves don't trust or respect her, which eats at her no matter what. When was the last time we had a new hour of Power Book 3 Raising Kenan? It has felt like 47 years since we saw the events of Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 3 Episode 10 play out, and I won't lie to you. I needed a refresher course on everything that went down in the bloody finale, so this hour was a blessing in disguise. Instead of picking up where things left off, the series took another route, taking us back in time to relive all the moments we missed leading up to the shocking finale. I wasn't sure what to make of the decision to jump 3 months back, considering we'd already lived through these events, right? And if they were showing us new things now, why were they not included to begin with? Well, the answer to that was pretty damn easy when some of the first images of Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season for Episode 1 we got was of an alive Unique making his way to a pay phone. We all knew Unique was alive, obviously, but the most fascinating part of the whole hour was seeing how he pulled himself from the woods and then eventually managed to make it to that abandoned warehouse over the course of 3 months. We all knew Unique was a fighter, but he was possessed by the spirit of betrayal and revenge when he willed himself to that pay phone. He was lucky someone was there to answer the call because he wouldn't have made it otherwise. Early was hilarious and a welcome addition to the season already. He was primarily motivated by self-interest, but he was also the only reason Unique got better, and the two of them should make for an interesting little duo. For starters, this was not the same Unique we knew in the past. Unique was always about his business and getting what he felt he deserved, but we also saw his walls break down when he and Rack started their little love affair because the two had much more in common than they ever gave much thought to. Rack often kept Unique at a distance during Power Book 3, Raising Kenan Season 3, whereas Unique seemed to be more invested, in the sense that you could see his feelings more in his actions and words than you could with Rack. When Unique died, Rack had a moment or two to mourn what could have been, but she also didn't dwell on it much and kept it moving, which could be the tagline. Beginning with Jukebox in the Army, Raising Kenan Season 4 Episode 2 It's All Love takes us on a journey that ends with an unhinged, Unique killing lawyer Andre Barnes, Lulu returning from rehab, Marvin taking on more work for Stefano, and Kenan requesting his more for the Roop. After a retrospective start to Season 4, the second episode jumps straight into gear as we finally see our favorite characters try to move on with their lives following Season 3's bombastic end. The first episode provided all the context surrounding Unique and how he is now on a revenge mission against Rack and Kenan. However, the Thomas family has more problems on its plate than worrying about what Unique might do next, especially considering the fact that they are unaware if he is even alive. The FBI's interest remains a concern for Rack, who worries about her operation's safety and what the authorities might do next. Meanwhile, Lulu starts to take strides towards a positive reformation, similar to his brother from a few seasons ago. As word spreads of Howard and Ronnie's passing, the NYPD speaks to the media in another location. They claim that there was some sort of collusion between the two. Alongside their lawyer, Andre Barnes, Rack and Marvin watch the broadcast live on TV. The latter informs Rack that the task group has disbanded and that any investigation against Marvin has been withdrawn, thereby releasing her brother from outside scrutiny. The matriarch of the family, nevertheless, is still concerned about the FBI's role. Barnes assures her that he will update her on developments. As Kenan goes back to his drug business, Krystal comes by to visit. The two share some tender moments together. Miles away, Lulu is let out of Cedar Shores Rehabilitation Center, finally leaving the medical facility with a clean bill of health and ready to make amends for his past lapses. Marvin picks him up from the spot. Krystal and Kenan get handsy with one another, eventually